The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome. Good afternoon. My name is John Gilligan. I'm Director of the Integration Office for NEUP. Thank you for joining us. We're located here in Atlanta at the American Nuclear Society meeting today, originating this webinar. We have in the room with us about 20 faculty and staff, and they'll be asking questions and so forth during this presentation, and so they're part of the audience. And we believe we're going to have about 20 or so people online, at least, on the webinar, listening to us from around the country. So thank you for being with us. I wanted to point out we have Brad Williams from DOE NE here with us, who's our team leader, and also our manager at INL, Greg Belay, is with us, as well as his staff, and Kenny Osborne from DOE ID. So we've got the experts here to answer your questions regarding PICS and possibly some other questions regarding NEUP if we have time and so forth. So, but specifically today, we're going to talk about the implementation of our new reporting system. In the past, we've had our own reporting system that takes your quarterly reports from your NEUP projects, accumulates all that information, and does a nice job in keeping us up to date and presenting that information to the leadership at DOE and others that need that information. Now we're going to enter a new realm. It's going to be something very important because we're going to become at parity with the national lab projects in terms of how DOE managers approve the projects, see the projects, and so forth. So it's a very important integration step that we're making on behalf of the universities to truly integrate and give us the same level of exposure, if you will, to DOE leadership. And so the whole idea, of course, with NEUP was to really integrate our projects along with the national program and the national lab. So the PICS system, the reporting system that we're talking about today, is actually going to do that and fulfill the promise that we had a few years back in order to make things totally seamless. So today we're going to talk about this transition to use our new program information collection system. This is a new system, not the old system that we had out of the INL office, but a new system provided by a third-party vendor, which will also have support, et cetera, associated with it. So it's a very professional system. It's been in operation for DOE NE for a number of years, and it's been tested, tried, and true. And now the idea is, of course, to make sure university faculty can make easy use of this to submit reports, et cetera. So your quarterly reports, as well as your plot charts, any published information that you want to put into your system. These are kind of materials that will be reported in PICS, and then through an automatic system will be routed to the proper technical monitors for your projects, and then also the managers at DOE through the approval process, and then eventually to the DOE NE leadership. So it's an effective project management tool. We'll also be able to track financials on this, see how your spending is going, and it's important to DOE and Congress in terms of how we spend our money. So it's an integrated feature we feel is very important. We hope this makes it easier for you in terms of how you interact with your TIO and program managers at DOE. That's not going to be a burden. Emphasis on improving the quality of the whole reporting system, the integration of your results into the DOE portfolio. That's what it's all about, having all this information in one place and available to the leadership to pull down anytime they want to is really what we're after. We hope that the document uploading will be easy. I think it is, and that it will be not too difficult to do because you're going to be doing it individually as a PI. It's not going to go through your contracts and grants office or anything like that. This is something that you should be able to do yourself. And so you are responsible for it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our presenter today, Matt. And he's going to take us through his presentation. And then, of course, we're going to have plenty of time for questions and discussion. We also have access to terminals here in the room here in Atlanta, and you'll be able to try out some of the features that Matt discusses. Matt?
Thank you, John. Appreciate the intro. As John had mentioned, my name is Matt Brainerd. I work for Allegheny Science and Technology out of Germantown, Maryland. Bring up my first few slides here. Let's kick this off. So a second, John's welcome. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules today to join me to talk about PICS, PICS-NE. You know, what is it? Why do we have to use it? Where? How to use it? When do we have to use it? Who do I contact for help in case I have a question about the system while I'm in it? Hopefully these first few introductory slides that I go through will answer some of those questions. And then also after the actual presentation of the slides, as John mentioned, we have monitors and systems set up here to go through. And I'm also going to take us through a high-level demonstration of the forms in the actual system. So we can take a look at what the forms include, what the data is going to go in, when to use it, that sort of thing. So at the start, I want to talk, try to answer some of these questions that we're talking about. How, if, what is it, when, why, how, that sort of thing. So John mentioned PICS, what it stands for, Program Information Collection System. It's a web-based tool. It's used by the Department of Energy, Office of Nuclear Energy, so actually the NE fits into PICS-NE. It's for tracking program scope, schedule, and cost elements. It was initiated back in FY 2005 for 3 R&D programs, Gen 4, AFCI, and NHI back then. So it's tried and true. It's been in existence for 8 years plus. It's become the central tool for managing the R&D world, providing continuity and integration between the National Laboratory, universities, and just recently industry partners. We've had some industries sign on to use the system as well. This is a tool that's used by DOE, NE, to oversee their programs, the progress, and to assist with the critical decision making on their end with respect to their programs. Some of the key features in the system include accountability assurance, convenient web access, user-friendly navigation. Some of the stuff we'll see as we get into the system to take a further look at it. This is just a chart, basically, of what PICS consists of. I like to look at it from starting with the planning module. So if you think about planning through execution, budgeting, execution through evaluation from a program management perspective, it sort of encompasses all that into one system and moves forward with consolidating it all. So why? Why do we have to use PICS? Why are we going to move over into the system? It's a requirement from DOE NE, not only for the NEUP projects now, but for the other NE R&D projects as well. It allows DOE to remain consistent across their NE programs with planning and reporting processes. So we're not getting different sets of data, via different vehicles or mechanisms and try to combine them all into one certain way of reporting. It uniformly makes things consistent across all of the programs that are in it. It gives DOE any real-time access to the data streaming in from the universities, from the laboratories, from the industry partners, and they can use it to report up to their higher level management team. And the data in the system can be easily exported into several different formats, Word, Excel, PDF. It's very easy to push a button and get data down into the system and use the powers of the other tools to create their individual reports. Where? How? How do we use PICS? It's a web-based tool, so it's accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week from anyone in the world. Matter of fact, just recently, I think within the last couple of months, we've had an individual work package manager who was out in Japan who logged into the system and provided his monthly report. NEUP's going to be quarterly reports, but he logged in from Japan to do his reporting. The URL address is www.picsne.com. It's secure. It's controlled via username and password and defined security levels per individual user of the system. Roles and responsibilities are also defined on individual accounts. So what they need to see, they can see. What they need to do, they can do. If they're not assigned to something, they won't have the authority to change anything, to mess anything else up on anybody else's behalf. Also, backups can be assigned in case a PI is going to be on travel or on vacation during the quarterly reporting period. They can assign somebody to do their reporting on their behalf. This is just a screenshot of the login screen of PICS. If you haven't seen it yet, this is what it looks like. It is a government information system, and usage may be monitored and recorded as subject to audit. So it's just a government system. That's a thing we have to put on there since it is for the government. When to use PICS. All right, let's spend some time on when we want to use PICS. PICS is currently used for all FY12 projects and will be used exclusively for future awards issued by DOE. So that means 13, 14, 15. As every fiscal year goes on and awards are issued, those new projects will be coming into the system. FY11 projects we're going to soon transition in the near future into PICS-NE, so we're going to take them off the current platform, NEUP.gov, and move them into PICS-NE as well, so they'll have work packages there in PICS. The 09 and 10 projects, since they're coming up to completion in the very near future, I think a decision was made to just leave them in NEUP.gov until they fully expend their funds and finish their projects. All right, so planning. We've got different phases of PICS. There's planning. There's also performance or execution modes. Planning, we're talking about once. What we're going to go through is when money is given to a university, the grant is given to the university, they'll come up with scope, they'll come up with milestones, and then they're only going to do this once at the very beginning of the life cycle. They're going to put their plans in place in PICS. And I'll show you what these forms look like and how it's going to go through in the system itself. So the work packages, we call them work packages in PICS. It's the same thing as a project plan. They're going to be life cycle, 36 to 48 months, and we'll go through an electronic approval process. So the PIs will push a submit button, and email notifications will be sent across the approval chain in the work package from the POC to the program controls all the way up to the federal management team. Some of these fields include scope of work, objectives, activities, milestones, and deliverables, and spend plans and more. So we'll take a look at that. This is just an example screenshot of what it looks like in the system. But again, I'll get into this in the live demo. So that was the planning process. Again, once. You only have to do it once at the very beginning. What we're going to move into now here is performance, and it's quarterly. It's done quarterly in the system. So every 3 months, the PIs will log in and put in their information and push the submit button again. Quarterly progress reporting fields include milestone updates. It includes their cost variance explanations, actual cost data, student information, accomplishments, issues and concerns, and more. The quarterly data will then be rolled up to higher level technical areas and accepted by the NTDs and approved subsequently by the DOE and federal managers. So this engages the federal team. They'll log into the system, they'll take a look at these reports, and they'll actually push an approve button. So generally speaking, the timeline will follow this schedule. The PIs, so at the close of a quarter, day one of that next month, the PIs are going to come in, they'll have 20 days to submit their reports. The technical points of contacts will then have an additional 10 days to review these quarterly reports and actually push an accept button in the system. Shortly after that, the NTDs come in. They'll go to a higher level in the work breakdown structure. They'll have the ability to review the data, use the data that was reported, and either submit it as is or rewrite it as they deem fit. So they can edit these reports on their own before it goes up to the federal managers, before it goes up to them to review and approve. So once they do that, then they have 7 days. Then the quarterly report is deemed final, and our reports that we can do from Allegheny we can write those reports and provide them to DOE for their use. So that's the general timeline. This is an example screenshot of the performance report. I've got about half of it here. Milestone chart, funding and status, and it goes down below that into accomplishments and student information. Now, again, this may be very important. Who to contact for help. So along with PICS NE comes someone like myself and Wendy Jew. Wendy's the lead point of contact for the NEUP program. We're both in the same office. We have our numbers. We have an email address. If at any time there's an issue, you have a problem with the system, you just have questions, you can easily pick up the phone and give us a call. And we're here to help you during normal business hours. And I've got a cell phone. You can call me after business hours if you want to. So it works. You have your analyst support whenever you need it. And we'll help you get through the issues that you have and answer the questions that you have. And my last slide basically is just a shot of our home screen from NEUP, which has our contact information right online. First thing you're going to see as you log in is the announcement section. At the very bottom is going to be how the contact information for Wendy and myself, how to get hold of us. So that takes me through my introductory slides. Are there any questions on any of this data? Yes, sir.
I got a few.
Sure.
First of all, how do we get our login information?
Absolutely, good question. You can contact myself or Wendy, or before you leave today, I can set you up if that's the easiest thing for you to do.
The other one is that the reporting deadline is coming up, so for ongoing projects, do we have to go through PICS for July? The reporting deadline, I think, is July 30th.
So June 30th marks the end of Q3, right? Correct. So July 1 to July 20th. Yeah, you'll go.
So July 20th.
So July 20th for the PIs to submit their.
20 days.
20 days. Yeah.
Okay, so then we go through the PICS.
Mm-hmm.
Only for FY12.
It's FY12, correct.
Only the 12 projects. The 9, 10, or 11 projects are not in here yet. So if you have a
All right.
9, 10, or 11.
I am glad you pointed to that because I was talking about 11 projects.
Oh, good,
Yeah.
good.
So
So when we get ready to transition the 11s in, we'll contact you.
Okay, you'll contact us. Okay.
But the 12s have until the 20th of July, not the 30th.
No, July 30th. It's the-
And for the when you transfer, you're gonna set up all these for us.
Yes, we'll help you walk through all of that.
But I mean, because he mentioned originally a setup. That setup is gonna be done by you or by us, or you, or both.
So we'll help you put that in there, but you'll get your login and everything from Wendy and Matt, and then you will go in and do your work package one time, the planning package, and then it'll be in the system. Based on what, it's
But
very similar to
you'll
what
help
we
us with
have.
that, I hope. Huh?
Pardon me?
You'll help us with that.
Yes.
Okay. Final question. Could you send out this in the soft form?
Yeah, or even better, I can send it to you since you don't have access to PICS yet, but I can definitely send it to you. If you give me your name and your email address before we leave.
Okay.
And we will have all of this posted on NEUP.gov.
Yeah. Okay. I'm
Also,
done.
the recording of today's session.
I'm done.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's pass the microphone around if we have questions.
That's
So,
a question, just to clarify something, Matt.
Sure.
When you say they submit their quarterly report, these are progress reports, and then you say the program directors and stuff have the ability to edit and change that. And they won't really change their quarterly report without, they'll probably just talk to the PI, and the PI would probably change that. They wouldn't go in and just unilaterally change some data or change a report and then forward it on without the PI knowing.
The PI should know about it. You're
Okay.
right.
Right.
But if we're going to get out of, Brad, maybe you can clarify this.
The main changes that I think we're referring to, as it rolls up from an individual project, it then, all of the projects under a given work scope get rolled up and you have a summary of all of those. So the higher level managers only see a summary of each individual project. They can dive down into each specific project if they want, but what gets reported up is very high level. So the MTD, for example, may edit what that summary is. He's not changing the actual project report. He's just editing which summarized information goes to the federal manager. But the initial input that has been approved, submitted and accepted by the TPOC, that will stay the same. The TPOC may choose to reject it with comments and then give you an opportunity to resubmit, which I believe is similar to how you currently do it. But the roll-up summary will stay the same. And just something else I wanted to point out with that summary, we started using it for the 12 projects, and in some instances we've seen PIs who write a report and then attach a PDF. While it's okay to still have the PDF in there, we really need you to summarize in each of the fields in PICS what information you want to highlight up to the higher level management, because once it gets to the national technical director at the lab and to the federal manager, they will only see that roll-up information, so they won't see the attachment unless they dig into one of their 30 or 40, 50 projects that they have. So make sure what you summarize is what you want the high-level DOE managers to see, because that's what they will see.
Should we still put a PDF in?
If you want to, you can. There's a space for all of the documents. It's not required, but if you feel that's the best way to really summarize things, you can do that. It may or may not get read. It depends on the specific program manager and what additional information they need. Ideally, this will help increase communication. So if you summarize something and they want additional information, they may just contact you directly to get that. But if you want to have it, you can have it. But
In the quad charts are...
Yes, they will be uploaded here as well. And that, so there's an entire documents section where any user can go and see the archived reports and the quad charts, which will be a requirement to be uploaded as well.
And we'll also have to upload a PDF or something like that when we complete milestones, because I seem to recall that they do require something to be uploaded for
Yes, yes. If you have a milestone report, whether it's a report or documentation that an experiment and data was complete, you will upload that to satisfy the milestone.
Yeah, so in PICS, that's called the deliverable. And so every milestone has a deliverable. And when you upload the deliverable and select an actual finish date on the deliverable form, and I'll show you this, the milestone is then marked complete for that report.
For the report, what I do right now, other than filling in the right places, the right information, I also upload the project report, which is fairly lengthy. Is there a provision, because you mentioned that no report upload. Is there a provision for that here?
Well, that's what I was mentioning. A detailed PDF report is not required. Your official report will be entering all of the relevant information into each of the fields in PICS. If you want to upload the additional report, you can, but just uploading the report does not satisfy the requirements.
The reason why I do it like that, I mean, I realize I can even, the current reporting system has similar philosophy.
Yes.
You could just do the minimum. The problem is that if you are going to discuss what you have been doing intelligently,
Yes.
you can't do it.
And that's
Picture,
why,
I mean, big figures and all these things.
yes, and I believe there's sufficient room to do high-level reporting, but if you want to add additional, more detailed information, supplementing the summary with the detailed report, and in many cases, that information, the program manager will see the summary, it'll spark particular interest, and then they can go to the PDF.
Hopefully, well, my last question is for the 11 projects, the upcoming reporting period, we go through the regular route?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And we will, for the 11 projects, once we transition, we will link all of your previous reporting from NEUP.gov to PICS.
Okay, great.
So you won't have to redo everything you've done previously.
Thank you.
There's some online questions. Actually, just one. Matt, they ask, do authorized university reps and PIs get login and passwords, or is it only the PI?
Anybody can have access. You just need to request a username and password. And we would set them up in the system and give them the roles and responsibilities that they need in their own account. They can get what they need to see, basically. They request to see.
So the university representative should contact you just like a PI should?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Could a PI give responsibility to a graduate student to upload some of these things?
Yeah.
I mean,
Through the backup access.
or a postdoc, or a staff member? Okay.
The PI will still remain as the official responsible party, but through the backups, they can assign others, including graduate students.
Sure can delegate.
And I want to add a comment or a question that was raised before we started, just to clarify. Right now, what we're talking about is for NEUP R&D projects. That would include the IRPs, the program supporting, and the mission supporting. We will eventually include all of the awards, adding the infrastructure and scholarships and fellowships. The reporting and what's required for the infrastructure, scholarships, and fellowships will be different, much less information, but from any management standpoint, we will get to the point where we include all of those. And for those who are applicants for the FY13 Consolidated Innovative Nuclear Research Solicitation, NEET areas also they currently have a structure in PICS, so any awards made under the NEET work scopes will also be included, but will follow the NEET reporting, which is very similar to this.
So just to clarify, any backup that is designated, they have a separate account or they go through our
They have a separate account.
They have a separate account.
It's the only way you could track who's entering what and who has what authority, et cetera.
So if a backup pushes an approve button in the system's going to recognize that it was the backup that pushed the button and notate that on the screen.
And there's a log you see at the bottom of the page who submitted, the date they submitted, who accepted or rejected with associated comments. So everyone sees that entire chain. So you have accountability.
And PI or subcontractor.
And another feature that I personally like, and I just received my daily reminder, that the system is set up so that it will send you an email reminder when something is due. And as it's past due, it will remind you on a daily basis, as I've been getting here this week.
So as soon as you take that action, those emails will stop.
So for the report that is due for this quarter, so you'll get an email daily, or
You can. There's actually two options. You can sign up for a daily email, or you can do a real-time type of thing. So as soon as an action is applied to your account, you'll get an email that there's an action pending for you. A lot of people use both, so they have the daily and they have the real-time, so they know when somebody moves something to them. So if you're a technical point of contact, for instance, and a PI pushes the submit button, you're going to get an email immediately that it's some kind of report's ready for you to review. And then also you get a daily email on top of that until you take that particular action to approve that report.
Will the tabs be changed from monthly to quarterly reporting?
That's a good question. Well, we have to stay. It says monthly status right now.
It says monthly status
right.
now.
You're right. We can look into what it will take to change that, but to stay consistent with all the other programs, we may just have to overlook the word monthly, and the calendar will automatically advance on a quarterly basis, and the actions will be set on a quarterly basis for the NEUP programming system. But I can take a note to take a look at that and ask the programming team.
Do we want to mention the financial input?
The actual cost upload?
Yeah.
Let's get in, take a look at the planning, then when we get to the performance screen, we can show and talk about that. You don't have to go there. Stay here. Whatever you want to. All right, so PICS, here we are. This is the staging environment. So I'm logging into that, not the live production database, because I don't want to mess anything up in there by accident. I've created this NEUP user account and password. So when you come to PICSNU.com, you'll see the same screen. You put in your username and password, hit log on.
Just hit show my screen.
Show my screen.
Okay, so as the users log in, as the PIs or anybody who's in logs in, the first thing that they're going to default to is their default program. And this is what the login screen sees. On the left-hand side, we've got our fiscal years, which are in the NEUP world, are going to be the award fiscal years. So FY12, so FY13 that we see here. When the FY13 awards go out at the end of this fiscal year, as we're rolling to FY14, their awards are going to be loaded into the 13 structure in PICS. So right now the FY12 awards are loaded into the FY12 structure in PICS. Again, this is the way we had to do it to keep it similar to how the other R&D programs use the system on a fiscal year basis.
But that planning tab next to your home tab, which is red right now, that planning tab, does that represent the entire, so it's a 3-year project, the entire 3 years?
Life cycle.
Okay, so it's not just fiscal year 12.
It's not fiscal year, right. So don't get hung up on the FY portion if you see FY in the system anywhere. It will be life cycle for the program.
So, left side again, we have navigation, my items, which if you have an action item, you'll see it in my action item. So if you get a daily email that says you have an action pending in the system, if you log in, you should see that action and a link to that action right here on the left side of the screen. So in this example, I've got a work package action, which is planning action, and a travel request, foreign trips. This individual user is going to go somewhere overseas. Also, if you're on the approval chain on a work package somewhere, it doesn't matter what level, the PI, the POC, if your name is on the approval chain, you're going to see my work package listed here. These will stay here at all times. These action items will go away as soon as you take that particular action.
Can you go back to the travel request? Just want to point out that we will use the travel module in PICS to help with the federal managers with the approval. You will still submit your travel requests the same way that you always have. We also ask that you input it here and you're working, and hopefully we've worked it out to link them, but we're looking into that. Adding the travel module in here will help expedite the approval process for you.
This is international.
Just international.
But for international travel, you'll still follow the same process that you always have, getting it into the overall system.
And I'll show you what that travel form looks like. It's pretty easy to get through. So we talked about navigation. As we mentioned before, we have planning, performance. We have some change control stuff, which I don't think NEUP's going to use much of. Travel is the foreign travel module. We have the reports section, which is how to get data, export data out of the system, and to view some archive report information that we, as a third-party analyst, the reports that we provide to DOE will post up there. And then also, again, another area for help, including a help desk and a way to submit a ticket if you need to. So on the home screen, every time you log in, defaults to home. We have our system announcements here, if it's open or closed, what their deadlines are. We have a calendar of events that's going to look quite a bit more populated than this in the future, and also our contact information at the bottom. So if I've got an action in the system for this work package, and I log in and I see it there, I come over here to my navigation menu, I click that link, and the system automatically takes me to the form that's requiring my input or my submission or acceptance. So in one click, you get to where you need to go. And you roll through the form, take the actions needed, and you push the submit button or accept or approve, whatever button's there for you. We also have a WBS, so if you wanted to drill down into a WBS structure, you can, simply by hitting the plus and minus symbols next to the different technical areas. So for example, what I want to show you is a fully detailed work package form, a project plan that was submitted in the system to show you what it can look like, fully populated. So as you see at the top of the form, we've got the WBS structure that it falls in, a work package number, which is uniquely driven for each work package in the system. It's automatic in the system, so it's not something you have to worry about coming up with or doing or numbering yourself. It basically just points out that it's a NEUP work package. It's the it's a 12 award. It's in the state of Kentucky. University of Kentucky, and then the WBS structure that the work package follows in. That's all it is. So someone like myself or someone like Brad who sees these things on a constant basis, just by looking at the work package number, we know what state it's in, what university it's at, and what technical area it falls under. And that number is unique to each project plan work package. We have some other information, title, funding, total available. We've got organization, University of Kentucky. Underneath that is kind of the most important part. One of the most important parts of the form itself is the scope of work. This is where you're going to want to spend some time. If you have it written somewhere already, from a proposal or something, you can copy and paste it right out of there into the system. It's a text box field that it does take copy-paste features. You can't put any tables or charts or graphs in there. It's just strictly text only. But it gives you a good way to get the data in. There's also objectives, assumptions, and prerequisites, basis of estimate. If you have this information, some of it applies to the other R&D programs that use the system. It's optional. You can put stuff in here if you want to. You don't have to do it. But definitely get some scope in there. Then we have an activities and milestones section. And this is the table format of what it looks like. And there's a spend plan. So if we want to check into the next fiscal years from a fiscal year standpoint, again, this is life cycle, but this is how you would see your fiscal year. It's the easiest way for us to tie NEUP into a system, to a program that was already using a 12-month fiscal year basis. And as these milestones are entered, there are some other information required in here, such as a description of the actual milestone title. Yes.
On the budget, can those be put in quarterly? So could we skip 2 months, just make them quarterly? Usually the universities are kind of on a quarterly basis.
They are on a quarterly basis. And maybe Val or Stephanie answered in the previous way of NEUP.gov, do they come in monthly? In the proposals, do they come in monthly or do they come in quarterly? Or, I mean, we can do that. The system will allow that, yes.
Because they were formerly subcontracts, and now they're going to be grants or financial assistance, which are recorded, financially reported quarterly, and so we just wonder if we can put, maybe skip a couple of months and just put a spend plan quarterly.
Okay.
Well, what we had talked about was from the financial side, and that's what I was going to mention. We will actually take care of, DOE, whether it's ID or the NEUP integration office, we will actually input the financial information, and one of the reasons for that, and I think we plan to do it monthly, and we will use our system, STARS. So what you will see, you will have your spend plan, which you input at the beginning of the project, but we will input the actual costs for you, and that will be based on what we in DOE systems see as actual cost. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with sometimes there's discrepancies between what we have in our system and what you are accounting for, and that's because it has to go through business offices and take some time. But what you will see is what we actually see in the system and what we have to report all the way up to the highest levels in DOE from the financial standpoint. So everyone will be on the same page from a financial standpoint. So you have to worry about the scope and schedule and the initial cost planning, but from the actuals, we will take care of those. And if you see anything that doesn't look right, we can work those issues, but it'll be based on what we have in the system.
But we have to give an explanation if there's a discrepancy between the planned spending and the actual spending. So, but if there's a delay or something, is that a valid explanation?
Yes. You would say, I submitted X dollars on Y date. It has not cleared the university's business office yet, so you have not received an invoice. That, because when I go in front of, the assistant secretary on a quarterly basis and justify why we have the 20% variance, I use the information you put in to justify that. And we understand that's an issue, but at least there's no discrepancy and everybody understands why the money is showing up as it does.
That's very much an issue at universities because universities tend to lag behind in their invoicing. And so even what the PI sees is not going to be what they think they've expended. or what you see on your local reports is not going to be consistent with your Excel spreadsheet that you're actually trying to keep expenditures with. So we're just going to have to do as best job as possible on trying to reconcile this eventually. And hopefully the universities will recognize this as well and invoice more quickly so that the monies can be gotten back and expended properly. So that's a concern for us.
We had another situation.
Yeah, I know you guys did Ohio State.
No, but this was a surprise to me too. We were ahead of the project, but behind the expenditure. So the TPOC said, how come you could say that you completed 50% of the project, but you spent only 35% of the money? We didn't want to say, well, we saved you money, didn't we? It was just that the bookkeeping contract wasn't in place, so we tried to explain. But things were. But John said is very valid, because what we see is not going to be what you see over there. I mean, when I look at my Excel sheet from our Office of Sponsored Programs, even if it says spent, that's not what you're going to be seeing probably.
It's not invoiced.
And we understand this, and it's it's not going to look be a bad or a red flag for you guys. So don't worry about that. But making sure you realize what we see, and then providing the explanation, we're all on the same page. That's the intent of that, not to cause trouble or blame for anything, but make sure we're all on the same page.
So as the milestones are being entered into the work package form, this is the area where the deliverables are identified as well. So you enter a milestone, you identify the deliverable, and the criteria for completion, and some other information that's shown there as well. So that's the activities and milestones table with the spend plan embedded in it. And then as we scroll down the page, there's just a couple of different sections that cleans up some of the data and makes it easier to read. It's auto-populated. It's nothing you have to worry about doing.
On the milestones, we enter them ourselves.
You do.
Based on the level of gradation is our choice.
Correct. Yeah, there are certain levels of milestones, level 1 through level 5. The level 1 being the highest. I don't think the most visible for someone like Brad would want to know and track and make sure he knows what's going on with that milestone. Something lower at the level 5 is just a support milestone to your own plan, something that you want to accomplish at a certain time. Brad doesn't necessarily from a daily perspective.
Yeah, and the level of the milestone will be something that during your planning you work out with your technical point of contact and with the NTD and federal program manager. Typically, a level 1, we only have, I think each program has 4 level 1 milestones, and that's at the fuel cycle level. You have 1 per quarter. A level 2 would be something that is raised up to the federal program manager level. So typically speaking, that's except unless it's a very high level, something you want to go to the secretary. Level 2 would be the highest that you would reach. And the level 3s and 4, they are some milestones to support those. But you'll work with the programs to determine the appropriate level.
Okay, and then at the very bottom of the planning form is the approval process. So, for instance, the principal investigator would submit this work package. It would go to program controls just for acceptance, make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, and then it goes through the POC to the NTD to the federal manager to finally the program manager. And you'll see in this case the names in red. Stephen Yates gave backup access to Jeff Van Hoy, so Jeff Van Hoy came in here and pushed the submit button on Stephen's behalf. And then this Wendy Jew, in order to expedite the FY12 projects in the system, we were granted access for Wendy to be able to approve at these levels since the projects were already approved in NEUP.gov and were already rolling. So we took care of that to expedite.
And I just want to point out something else. I know this is the planning, but on the quarterly reporting, each of these levels, I want you to note the very bottom level. In this case, it's Andy Griffith. He's the office director for fuel cycle R&D. So the highest level, the managers, are seeing this work, and what we will do on a quarter for the lab-based work, they report monthly. So every month, there's the PICS system in the fuel cycle program I'll use as the example. The PICS system generates a PowerPoint presentation for each of the campaigns, whether it's fuels, separations, systems analysis. That gets rolled up into a single presentation and it goes to the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Fuel Cycle. So you will be included in that on a quarterly basis. So the highest levels of management will see their entire portfolio with the NEUPs being added to the mainline program on a quarterly basis.
I think that can't be emphasized enough, Brad, that one of the concerns we've had in the past for NEUP is that we get maybe to that third level or second level, and the information would stop flowing. Wouldn't get up to the higher level managers at DOE, and when asked, say Andy Griffith would not know what's going on with their particular NEUP projects, which is a concern for us because we want to make sure we have an impact on the national program. So this is the same kind of flow and approval that the national lab projects have for NE. Okay, so it's going to make us, when I say we have parity now, the managers are going to have to approve and look at the same kind of information. It's going to assure that our results get to the highest level and hopefully will be used and will have much more of an impact and we'll be much more engaged in the program. So I think that's what our goal is here, hopefully, that all that's going to occur. And we'll have recognition of graduate students and postdocs, et cetera. So.
Okay, so let's use that as a segue into the performance module here. So this is quarterly again. When this work package is fully approved, the system automatically activates it for performance reporting. And if you get an email with an action item, the action item will show in your My Action Item list. You click under the performance header, and it will bring you right to this particular screen. So this is an example of what a quarterly report looks like. The first section that you're going to come to that you'll have to do something with is the milestone status chart. So remember, we entered our milestones in our planning form. Now they're showing up on this performance form. On a quarterly basis, you'll have 3 options to choose from. It doesn't show here because this is actually a fully submitted and approved form already, so the form's locked down to changes. But there'll be a way to verify that it's on schedule. There'll be a way to revise or status it so that if you're going to slip past your original estimated finish date, you can show that your revised finish date and when it's going to be and provide an explanation as to why you're not going to meet the original estimated finish date. And there's a way to complete it as well to show actual finish date, such as over here. And then the next section we come to is the cost variance section. So as we were discussing how actual costs are going to be loaded into the system, they will automatically appear under here, cumulative actual cost. The system will then take that and compare it against the value earned, or in most cases, the planned value of the particular work package, and it's all cumulatively speaking here, and drive the variances for you. So in this case, the work package has a value earned, so the planned value, which shows down here, is $120,000. All the milestones, are on schedule. As a matter of fact, this value earned number is driven only off of activities and milestone updates that have budget tied to it. So if you're not tying budget to your milestones, then you're always going to be on schedule in your work package, and your value earned will be the same as your planned value. It's a little bit confusing, I know, but then you're comparing your plan versus your actual cost, if that's the case. So this is why you see your planned value down here at 120,030 and your value earned the same at 120,030. So these two numbers match. And then it takes that and compares it against your actual cost and drives your variance of 37.23% underrun, $44,000 on this particular example. Now you'll notice it's in the red, and what that means is that it's just exceeding a $25,000 and 10% threshold value. If you're under those limitations, it'll remain green, and you will not have to provide a cost variance explanation.
So it is and or not or.
And it has to meet both of those criteria.
I'm not sure if I'm following For every milestone, we have to have a cost estimate, or is it going to do it in itself?
No, I think we've entered them all at the work package, the monthly spend plan for the NEUP program. So we put the spend plans in at one level, and we didn't break it down by milestone.
Okay. Good.
But I mean, this kind of information for us is critical when you request a no-cost extension, for instance, or you need more money, whatever it happens to be. I mean, having a record of this is you know, the kind of evidence that you need.
Okay, so for those work packages that are showing in the red, a cost variance explanation would be required in the system before the system will allow submission of this quarterly report. So the PIs will come in and enter a justification for the cost variance explanation. And some earlier examples provided for delays and invoicing and that sort of thing. And then the milestone variance section is driven by itself based on that work package spend plan line that we talked about. But any milestone updates that you do way up the top, those will automatically be driven down here under the milestone variance explanation. So if you status your milestones as on schedule, you say they're on schedule, they'll populate down here as well in this table. This is automated.
So for the milestones that are on schedule, do you need to input any kind of explanation, or you just say it's on schedule?
There's a 90-day window in the system, and I guess in the quarterly reporting world, it is going to be a 90-day thing. But if you've got a milestone that's due out in month, say 25 of your 36-month life cycle, you don't have to worry about statusing that milestone until the 90 days before that particular milestone comes due. So if you've got 10 milestones in your work package, you only have to worry about the ones that are coming due in the near term.
But for those ones that are in the near term, let's say some of them I expect to be late, some of them I expect to be right on time. Obviously, I need an explanation if I'm going to mark it as expected late.
Right.
But if I'm saying these near-term ones I expect them to be on time, does that also need an explanation? Or
the system's going to ask for it. All you need to type in is on schedule. That's it. So that automatically gets populated down here in this section from your input above. The next section you come to is the student section. So this is where you're going to identify your students that are working, collaborating with you on your project, in your work package. I think you see the same information in NEUP.gov. We pulled it over into PICS as well. U.S. citizen or not, major, expected graduation year, and level of education. Explanation. So this is an example of a very detailed explanation on an accomplishment in this tab. And as Brad was saying, it gets pretty lengthy here. The system does allow for quite a bit of input. So if you have a report that's out there, you want to copy and paste a pretty detailed summary, you can. The system will put it in there for you.
But it won't take pictures?
It won't take pictures. It won't take charts. It's going to
And if you want, you can reference, if you're going to upload pictures or graphs,
Where
something
does it
like that,
allow-
just note it in your description with the attachment title.
Where does it give us the option to upload?
right here under Documents
Okay,
tab.
documents.
And I'll show you that in a second. But as Brad is saying, it's very important to get some information in here, copy paste a paragraph, 2 paragraphs, whatever, because this information, and I'll show you how this works, but it's going to roll up at the higher level of the WBS structure for acceptance there. So issues and concerns, again, if there's anything that you want to highlight for DOE, you can do that. Change request not anticipated. These are optional fields. You don't have to put anything in here. Carryover you can disregard because, again, that is basically geared more towards the fiscal year component of the system. Commitments. And then here's the Documents tab. An example of where you would upload your Q1, your Q2, your quad charts, that sort of thing up here. So if you make note, if you copy a couple of sentences or paragraphs under this text field, say refer to
It's still the
documents.
same. I mean, you still have the milestones and the explanation. So it's going to be very similar.
Yeah, hopefully this is seamless. We try to make this as seamless as possible.
You break it down there by milestones yourself. Right? You're not now under a single milestone.
No, this is at the work package level, the project level. Right. What was accomplished for the last 90 days at the project level. You can break it down by milestone if you want to, as you say this example does, but yeah, you can definitely sum it up to a higher level for sure. And then there's some look-ahead information. So for the next quarter, what's coming up, 30, 60, 90 day. Again, disregard 3060 because that's really geared towards the monthly reporting process for the R&D programs. But if you wanted to put a 90-day, what are you going to do in the next quarter? You can do that. You can enter your stuff.
Just wanted to add on to the question about it at the project level.
Brent's muted. Sorry.
Just wanted to add on to the question about reporting at the project level, and this is even more important for the IRPs, but even so for the smaller R&D projects. It's the PI's responsibility to report for the entire project. So you will need to get your input from the co-PIs at other universities, the labs, and industry as appropriate. But there will be one work package for each project, so the entire project will be reported as such.
Okay, and then at the very bottom of the quarterly report on a 3-month basis here, we have the PI who comes in and hits the submit button, and then the technical POC follows up with an acceptance on this particular report at this level. Once that technical POC accepts that, an action is set for the NTD. When the NTD comes in, they're going to go to this level of the WBS, so it's one step above the work package or the project level, project plan. So they'll come here, and then this is what they're going to see, sort of a summary of each project underneath their purview, and they'll have the ability to take a look at the input as at the lower level here. If they like what they see for a cost variance explanation, they can simply click Add It, or they can click Add All, and they'll have the ability to review and maybe add their own notes to the bottom of this, because this is what's going to be rolled up to their federal manager, their counterpart in the government. So it kind of gets them, the entities, the reports out of the weeds a little bit and sums it up at a higher level. So there's the cost component at that level. There's a milestone input, again, at that level. There's the student information at that level that takes all of the students that were entered at the lower level and sums them up into one table. Here's the accomplishments. Again, they see something they want to maybe take note of. They can simply add to roll-up. That copies it down into the text box, and then this is what becomes final. And again, 90-day look ahead. They can add that in there, and then they would come down here and push an accept button, and then it would move on to the federal manager, in this case Frank Goldner, to do the final approval on this quarterly report.
If you notice at this level, looking on the left at the WBS, it may or may not look exactly the same as the work package you submitted and received an award to. In most cases, they do map fairly well, but for example, here under advanced fuels, that structure, the fuel separations, impacts, UFD, that's NE's organizational structure for the most part. Typically, we try to map projects to that same structure, and it's a little bit different on the reactor side. But if you see something that looks a little funny, that's why. And in reality, the work packages do also fold up to the same structure. We separated the IRPs. For example, in 12, the fuel cycle IRPs were under fuels, but we separated them out because they are larger projects. We wanted them to see a different level of granularity, and the same with the mission supporting, because sometimes they may not tie directly to it. But just wanted to add that in case there was any confusion and you didn't understand exactly how things fit.
Okay. Well, that takes us through the quarterly reporting from the entry to the roll-ups and the approval of the federal team. Are there any other questions on this the quarterly performance report before I finish up with a couple other things?
That one from online says, will the previous sequence of report approval be preserved, meaning the TPOC has to approve first before the federal program manager can see it, so on and so forth?
Yes. Every time we advance the calendar to the next quarter in the system, the whole process starts over. And it's the same process every 3 months. Okay. Good. So at the top of the screen, we have the travel form. So let's take a quick look at what that looks like. This is, again, the foreign travel only. And I've got a couple of examples in here as to what it looks like. a complete one and also one I'm currently working. So I'm a NEUP user. I come in. I know I'm going to Paris, so I need approval through PICS to do so, as well as the formal FTMS process has to be filed as well. But this is just the kind of the first step to alert the entire chain on the approval on the work package that we looked at that a foreign trip is necessary. It was basically just a title. It's the user list. They would pick their name in the PICS user list. It would all populate this information. A destination. If there's any personal travel, they would check that box for included with this trip. Start and end dates and plan, cost, purpose, scope, and they would just go through the submission approval process.
And I'd just like to add something else, and if we scroll back up to, in this case, the explanation is a 10-day ANS conference. And I'm sure many of you that have submitted travel previously see this. Once it gets to headquarters, and it actually, foreign travel has to be approved at the Deputy Assistant Secretary level, a lot of times additional information is necessary. You have to go back and forth, so it delays the process and potentially jeopardizes the window when it can be approved. So for example, here, attend ANS. Why are you attending ANS? How does it benefit the project? How is it going to add value by participating in this? The more information you can provide there and clearly explain the benefit of the travel, especially now where participation is in the spotlight. The more information and more clearly you can explain how this benefits the project and benefits NE, the better, and it'll ensure that you're approved in a timely manner.
Yeah, I just did it pretty
bare
bones here.
Well, that was a good example. That reminded me to say that.
Sure.
If a graduate student, for instance, is going with you to the conference, do they need to submit? Do they need to have a PICS account and submit something similar to this?
They don't necessarily need a PICS account because you can do it for them, but they're going to need their own travel request to be approved in the system as well. So if you're the PI, you can do your travel request in the system, and then you can create a new one for your student to travel with you. And you can just type in these fields who that is. You don't have to select a PICS user. And so as that happens, it's submitted by the travel requester. Again, it could be one and the same person, travel requester, PI. And it just goes through the same approval chain so that everybody is on board and everybody's aware of the foreign trip and why they're going. Coming back to the travel list, so after the travel is completed, the system does ping for a report, post-trip report. Brad, are you, refresh my memory, are you looking for post-trip reports on the travelers or no?
For foreign travel, yes. If they're current contracts, they do, because by contract they have to.
I believe, Kenny, is that
I would say yes, we would want some type of a report on what happened.
Okay, so if that's the case, then the system knows when you're due back. It gives you a grace period, I think 30 or 45 days. What's the requirement? Is it 60 days to provide a post-trip report after return? So it's not going to start pinging you right away. It's going to give you a little while. Then it'll start pinging you that say, hey, come into PICS, upload your post-trip report. Tell me what your actual costs were. Push the submit button. You're done. I mean, this is as simple as it gets for the system.
And then the specific details of that will be included either in your current contract or moving forward in your cooperative agreement.
So, yes.
Steph just pointed out for the 12s that go through the NEUP and contracts, that's been there's not a full report required anymore. So
Optional.
And I think also from a grant standpoint, I think if you put the results of that trip in your quarterly report, would probably suffice. If you didn't address it, then you probably need a trip report. If you include it in will include in the next report or something like that, that would suffice.
Okay, just to end out, we've got our reports module where you can see this archive reports tab here is where we as analysts will be generating, as Brad had mentioned, our reports that go into the individual programs support their program reviews, what they call them. So any reports that we drive, we'll load up in here for you guys to review as well. And then there's the field reports section where, excuse me, where you have a list of canned reports that are already in here. They range from accomplishments to milestone status to work package approval status and plan value, actual cost reports. Whatever's in here, you can run and generate through Word, Excel, PDF, and download the data at any level in the WBS structure. And once you get it out into Excel, you can chart, you can graph, you can do whatever you want with the data from there. And then there's the help module or the help desk. You can submit a ticket, or you can contact myself or any of the other analysts for help as well. We do have, some user guides and policies, PDFs that are up in here as well, in case you need some additional help from a document standpoint. And that is the high overview of how PICS works. Are there any final questions or comments or concerns?
So until, for 11 projects, until you tell us that we are on the system, we keep filing to the regular deadlines, right?
Correct. Regular deadlines, regular route for FY11 projects.
Okay.
We anticipate, hopefully, in the very near future, getting that transition over to PICS, but we'll let you know.
Okay, good.
Right, I would just say that at this point, if people have questions on the nuts and bolts of the operation of PICS, they would go to Matt.
Absolutely.
Or Wendy. If you have more general comments about, well, this doesn't have the capability to upload something or to include some kind of special report or something, you can contact me or Greg or Val or Stephanie or any of Brad, any of the or Kenny, anybody else that take those things into consideration, and we can discuss it and modify things if we need to. There is some possibility of doing that if we have to in the future. So a number of people you can contact. Brad, you want to add anything?
I would just say that we hope and believe that this is going to be an improvement both for you guys and definitely for us and NE, help better integrate the program, the NEUP projects with the overall program. I know the program managers and management in the R&D offices are very excited about this opportunity, and hopefully it's a big improvement, and hopefully it makes things easier for you as well. And just please, reach out to Matt and Wendy and our team in the integration office if any assistance is required. There will be some learning involved as we move forward, and we're experiencing with the first reports that we did for 12. But we think this is going to be a big improvement to help integrate and enhance the overall NE program. The university projects are an important part of the overall R&D portfolio, and this will help ensure that they're fully integrated into everything that's done.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.